on, Mr. Pramod.
How many of you here have bank accounts? Everyone, obviously. Imagine you walk into a bank to catch a check and you're standing in the cash counter queue waiting for your turn. Suddenly, somebody decides to rob the bank. And in the confusion, a bullet is shot. The bullet lands straight onto your leg and you're wounded. Imagine if you're that person there bleeding with the wounded leg. Would you feel lucky? Yeah? Right. The similar question was given to 400 people by a psychologist called James Williams from the US. And they collected responses from all these 400 people. And when they analyzed these responses, there were basically 3 responses. Number 1, large chunk of people said, why always me? Why do I always get into bad situations like this? Why do I always face problems? I am so unlucky. There were a second set of people who felt, thank God I'm alive. I could be dead. Thank God it is on my leg and not on my heart. And the third and rare group of people felt, wow, what a situation to be in. I can write a book on it. I'm so lucky to be there. Now, the same situation had different perspectives. Now, the situation I was in when I read this particular story was a very bad one. How many of you had devastating moments in your life?
What moment?
Devastating moments in your life? I had one. The very bad one will be when you lose your first job. I lost my first job, which I had got in my college. I was placed to a job, and the worst part was my dad was very happy about the job. He had my appointment letter in his bag and he was showing it to all his colleagues, and I lost it because I failed in my engineering. I had to walk up to my dad and say, Dad, I lost this job. And that was such a devastating moment. And I read about this analysis in that devastating moment, and what do I feel about myself? Do I feel lucky that I've lost this job? Or do I feel lucky that I'm still alive? It was a very difficult decision to take at this particular moment. I didn't know where to place myself in this moment. And then I was looking for inspiration. I was looking for motivation. I didn't want to go low. And I read about a famous person, a great person. How many of you have heard of Mark Woods? Mark Woods. Mark Woods. Alright. This guy was affected by cancer when he was 17. And when he was 18, his leg was re-amputated because of cancer. And as a rehabilitation process, he was swimming. And they got to know that he's swimming more faster than he could swim with 2 legs. And at that point, he focused on it. His dad became his coach. And now, Mark Woods is one of the best swimmers in Olympic Games. Now, Mark Woods has got hundreds of medals for himself. And there was one situation he handled. He had to go and attend Sydney Paralympic Games, and the day before he could fly, his dad died. Now he cancelled the flight. He was devastated. He was sitting back home and thinking what to do next. He performed the rituals of his dad, and then he was thinking, do I go to Sydney and play for Olympics, or do I stay back and sit at home? He thought about his dad. If my dad was alive today, he would expect me to go there, play and win. And I'm sitting at home right now. Now let me forget about all the disasters I'm having and let me fulfill my dreams so that my dad would feel happy if he were alive. Now he decides to go back to Sydney and play for the games. He books the next flight, he lands in Sydney, and he wins 3 gold medals in the Paralympic Games. I had goosebumps reading about this story. I'm not in a very bad situation like Mark Woods did. My situation was not that bad as Mark Woods faced. Now I had to come out of this. From that particular point, I didn't feel bad about the job I lost. and I looked at the job I would get. I concentrated on myself. I developed myself and make sure I would be a better person. I started writing a blog. I involved myself in more other activities and did not feel about the failure, but rather thought about the success I would get in future, which helped me a lot. Though it was late, after a year of staying at home jobless, I could find a job which I love to do. If I compare my journey in my career to my friends who got placed in the same company which I lost, I'm doing better than them right now. Now, what did that lag of 1 year teach me? I could understand how people think about me. I could understand how people treat you when you're in success and how people treat you when you're facing a failure. How do you manage yourself in the failure? How do you manage your parents and your family around when you have a failure around you? That was a big learning for me. Whenever you face a negative situation in your life, never let yourself down, because every negative situation has a positive perspective.